Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Two Saints show with myself, Mark C, and my co-host, Mark H. Here we are, the Two Saints, marching in again. Afternoon, Mark.
Afternoon, Mark. Looking forward to today's show. Loads of club news, loads of transfer news, so let's crack on with it.
Absolutely. So I'd just like to remind everyone, we have our Two Saints page on Facebook, which features our latest podcast editions. If you'd like a copy of those podcasts, we can send them to you directly if you message us on our Facebook page, Two Saints Show. We also have a YouTube channel now, Two Saints Podcast, the Two Saints Podcast Show on YouTube. Check the channel out. Feel free to subscribe. Give us any feedback you want to give us, negative or positive. We thrive on your feedback, and we can't do things without you. So we appreciate your input on that. And coming up for you on today's show, as Mark said, we've got Saints Club news, lots of that. We've also got Project Restart and other league news and Saints transfer news. So, starting the show off today, we're just going to play our little disclaimer.
Fiesta FM Southampton, 95.0 FM.
Disclaimer. The following program contains language, views and opinions that may be unsuitable for some listeners. This is not necessarily a view or judgment of Fiesta FM, its management, other hosts or advertisers. The show is for entertainment purpose only and is not intended to defame, insult or offend anybody in any shape or form whatsoever. Listeners are advised to exercise caution in their own environment.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes. It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So the first topic today, we're going to run through the ones that we normally run through, the full list, and then we'll come back to the first topic of the afternoon. So, Hasenhüttl signs new 4-year deal. Hasenhüttl, Saints project something special. Shane Long completes 2-year extension. Shane Long hails Hasenhüttl's influence. Ralph fires captaincy warning at Højbjerg. Pochettino or help change English football's mindset at Southampton. Saints extend partnership with Hartford Athletic. Saints stars boots raise £1,650 in auction. And that takes us all the way through all of the articles we're covering today. And the first article, Ralph Hasenhüttl signed a new 4-year deal, Mark. I think that's really good news, provided he gets the tools he needs to do the job.
Exactly, mate. I mean, look, let's be honest about it. Since the get-go, since he came in the building, you know, you and I have been behind him all the way, even though he's had a few dark moments. Obviously, it was probably disappointing for him that he lost Danny Rowell last summer. You know, because he had a cohort there. He had somebody that he previously worked with closely, but obviously he went off to Bayern Munich. I think over the summer that made his job difficult because he was left to work with Ross Wilson. And, you know, from my own personal point of view, what Ross Wilson probably presided transfer-wise, you know, along with Les Reed, and over one of the worst periods in terms of recruitment for the club. Yeah. So it was always going to be difficult for Ralph because he was working with people in-house rather than working with people, you know, that he personally trusted. And I don't think he needs to go. You know, I've seen the interview where he's talking about, you know, how grateful he was for the club's backing after the Leicester result. Yeah. And I don't think he needs to do that because the thing for me, Mark, is that, you know, given what's out there at the moment, what was out there at the time, and everything else, he is clearly the best man for the job. And I was saying it before Leicester. I'm saying it after Leicester.
Absolutely.
I've been consistent about it the whole time. But like you said, Mark, right, it's all well and good him signing a 4-year contract, right? Yep. And if the club want them to develop youth players, right, it should have been bloody longer. It should have been 10 years, not 4 years. Because that's the sort of period of time you're talking about. I mean, 4 years, he might develop 1 or 2, but he isn't going to be developing loads of players. I mean,
not only that, we both alluded, didn't we? we both alluded to.
Sorry, I'm just saying, maybe if he signed for longer, then he would get a conveyor belt system happening, because then he can cherry pick the ones that he's after. But in terms of the 4 years, don't get me wrong, folks, it's brilliant news for Saints. We couldn't have wished for better news given the current climate and everything that's going on.
I would say we all should be delighted by that news. We should be. It is great news, and we should be delighted by that. But we have to temper that with, as I said myself, if you don't give him the ammunition and the tools to do the job properly, you can't then criticise him if it all goes pear-shaped.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mark, everything works in tandem, right?
Yeah.
An investment, I'm sorry, any kind of investment is always key, alongside developing young players, you know.
Absolutely.
But it is key, and there's no point that the club turning around and going, "Oh, he's the right man for the job." We all know he's the right man for the job.
Tell us something we don't know.
Please help him. Please help him out. Please give him the ammunition that he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Ralph, looking at the last transfer window, he was asked to do the job with one hand tied behind his back after that, wasn't he? Yeah. So, come on, Saints, give him a little bit of help. Put a little bit of money his way. Come on. At least sign a decent blooming right back, if nothing else. At least put some money his way. Give him a little bit of help. Give him a little bit
He's a
great manager.
We are going to be signing the decent right back, but anyway.
But yeah, so obviously that deal sees him and the club further strengthen their commitment to each other and to the long-term vision that's been developed for the first team and the wider football projects. We're led to believe that he's requested that every single team across the club at any age group are all trained the same way as the first team, which is great. Obviously, alongside him, Richard Kitzbichler has also extended his contract as first team assistant coach, and will continue to work alongside the first team staff of Craig Fleming, Dave Watson, Calvin Davis, Andrew Sparks and Alex Gross. So obviously Richard Kitzbichler, Ralph's number 2 effectively. So it's good to know he's staying as well. Obviously Ralph's had a really positive impact on the club, and obviously everyone's aware of that. We're certainly aware of that, which is why we're big fans of his and believe he's the man for the job.
Had a positive effect on the supporters, never mind the football club. The only other thing I would say is and this is just following up from the other article that was there, Mark, right?
Yeah.
It's clear as well that the reaction of the club, given the current climate, right, was also was also a factor in him signing the 4-year deal. He's seen that, and I've seen, and you have seen, because we can be cynical. He's seen that the club has, the intentions of the greater public at heart. And I think that's something that he wants to buy in the terms of trying to take the club forward and develop the club and stuff like that. So it is kind of good news all round, but I'd still say he needs the support. Give it to him. If he's your number one, give him the support. Just don't forget giving him the support.
Yeah, and it also says in this article, he believes the long-term project Southampton is something special after committing his future to the club. It's actually the longest. He said, I think it's actually the first time I've agreed to such a long-term project in my entire management career, which means it has to be something special. He arrived as manager 18 months ago, worked tirelessly to build a philosophy that runs right through the club, from first team and academy system all the way through, forming a strong relationship with Saints supporters along the way. Absolutely. Said he's eager to continue the good work already in place under his stewardship at St Mary's. He said when he was first signed the contract 2 years ago, it was clear the way that they wanted to go together. So it's great to hear they're all invested in each other the same way, that Ralph and the board are singing from the same hymn sheet. I don't think we can always say that in the past, can we? So it's nice to hear that, but absolutely 100% they have to back him this time round. They can't afford to have another transfer window where they're inactive, because things have moved on and Ralph's moved on, and we need to move the club on. And the only way you're going to do that is great to have him on board with what they're doing. The philosophy's fantastic, but you need to back that up with a bit of investment. And sadly, that's been lacking, hasn't it, in the past? So we can only hope that this time they're going to get it right, because they do need to. And it does look as though they're starting to go back to the philosophy they used to have, which worked quite well. So we can only hope, fingers crossed, it does pan out that way.
There'll be a mixed bag later on when you say that, but there's a mixed bag going on, mate. Trust me, because you'll see something and then you'll be thinking, maybe not. But I agree. I agree with the sentiment that you're putting out there. The only thing is You know, all I'll say, and we're going to round it up now, is Ralph, we at the Two Saints Show absolutely love you.
Yep.
You know, and we're looking forward to the next 4 years and maybe longer with you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, for me, his enthusiasm, I mean, I know sometimes it's been at a low ebb this season, right?
Yep.
And for obvious reasons, okay? But his enthusiasm on that touchline and everything else and everything he tries to bring to the job, it's infectious for us as supporters.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So moving on to the next bit of news, which followed that quite swiftly, and can't say I was overly surprised myself. Few raised eyebrows, I expect, from a few other people that kind of went cool. But Shane Long, he's completed a 2-year extension to his contract, Mark, at Southampton.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I would say
No-brainer.
In the main, good news. I think the problem we probably had, Mark, was right.
Yeah.
The club, Shane Long's age, okay, 32, I believe, right. Yeah. And you're sat there and you're going, in an ideal world, we want to offer you a year's contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The player would be sat there going, I want a bit more security than that.
Yep.
Right? And the conversation, I mean, I wasn't in the room, but I'd imagine the conversation was, to a degree, we're flexible on it, giving you the second year, but you have to agree to take a drop in wages. Okay?
Well, the thing is, I'm quite curious about this, Mark, because for me, they seem to have learnt their lesson from the Jose Font situation in the fact that Jose obviously wanted a 2-year deal. The club only wanted to give him a year. And with Shane, they've obviously given him a 2-year deal. And for me, that's shades of the Jose Font situation in the fact that instead of offering him a year, they've given him the 2 years so that he does actually extend his contracts. And I think maybe with Jose, part of the problem was they wanted to offer him a year and he wasn't happy with that, was he?
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, this one's slightly different in the sense that Jose Fonte wasn't on massive wage. You know, surprisingly, he wasn't on massive wages at the football club. Okay, right. So obviously he came back from winning the European Championship.
Yeah,
right. He rightly probably thought, I'm going to be here for a while. Yeah, you know, I don't know any supporter that wouldn't have thought, I'm going to give him the 2-year deal. You know,
well, given the form he was in,
it would have been increased wages, but it would have been affordable, is what I'm saying. Okay, for the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on this one, as I say, 32 years of age.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the sensible thing was Shane wanted the 2 years for security, and I get that with the family.
Yeah.
You know, local girl, obviously. They don't want to particularly move, I wouldn't have thought.
Absolutely.
You know, the kids are settled, idyllic family life. You know, the wife's from Reading, so they're fairly local. You know, and I just hope the common sense prevailed where Shane said, well, I want 2 years, not 1 year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the club turned around and said, well, from our point of view, you have to understand you're 32 years of age. You know, I'm guessing, I don't know, I'm guessing that he's probably on about 50 grand a week.
Yeah, that's about
I would have liked to have thought that the club would have asked him to take a bit of a pay cut and then they've agreed to give him the 2 years.
Well, for me, I was reading about him, obviously stating the fact that obviously Ralph Hasenhüttl's influence was key to him signing. What I also found interesting, and I think he's actually hit the nail right on the head as well for other players in the squad. I don't think it's just him. When he says, I think since Ronald Koeman left, we've been trying to find the right manager and find the right fit. And I've got that feeling coming back again, he said. We've got the right manager and a group of players are improving week by week. And I know the club wants to add to that and bring in more strength in depth. I can see the club pushing up the league back to where we want to be and I want to be part of that. So, you know, he's getting that
feel. I agree with Shane. Totally agree with Shane.
100%. I think, you know, then that totally for me backs up why he's actually extended his contract, why he's staying here. And it's great to hear that. You know, it's nice to know that the players are starting to get that positive feeling again, isn't it? And that does explain some part of the reason we've seen below par performances under other managers. They quite clearly weren't happy, and you do get that feeling. There's a certain degree of happiness returning to that squad, isn't there? And we can only hope that has a knock-on effect, like it did with Koeman and Pochettino, and we get some positive football again.
Definitely, and I think as well. I mean, I know we're coming on to a bit of a negative in a minute, but, but on the whole, Mark, right? I would say as well that this, COVID-19's been terrible for the country and everything. Yeah. I actually think it's brought the squad of players at Southampton closer.
Oh, definitely. Right?
They're all, to me, they're all pulling together.
Yeah.
They all want, you knew from the get-go they all wanted to do something. They were waiting for the authority, and everything like that. And I think as a group of players, I may be wrong, but I think as a group of players, it has pulled them together. And hopefully we see that, when supporters return to the stadium and stuff like that there's a togetherness amongst supporters, the players, even dare I say, the people who run the football club.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I do feel that, and I do feel that there is, through what's happened, and obviously the club's response to it.
Yep.
There's been, I do feel that there's a feeling of unity.
Yeah, and I think in fairness, the club
and wanting the club to progress and stuff like that. I do feel that at the minute.
Myself personally, as a Saints fan, I'm very proud of my club at this moment in time because I feel that they've conducted themselves superbly throughout this whole situation. And you look at some of the other clubs in the Premier League, and I think the way they've conducted themselves is shameful. And for me, I'm so proud to be a Saints fan at the moment because my club, for me, have set an example during this crisis. And I
go on, add the bit that you were dying to add about Tottenham.
Well, that winds me up. I mean, you look at Tottenham and they've requested 175 million from the Bank of England because they're saying that playing behind closed doors is going to cost them 200 million pounds. Well, all I'm going to say, Tottenham Hotspur, is if you go out and spend a lot of money in the transfer window, you watch out because you're going to get some flack from people for that. You think you got flack from your fans for furloughing people? You've seen nothing yet. You will get flack if you go and invest money now after you've told the Bank of England you need 175 million
from opposition fans is going to go in the meltdown, isn't it, Mark?
They are taking the mickey with that. Tottenham Hotspur, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You are taking the mick.
Did you hear what I said? Social media is going to go into meltdown over that. You watch the opposition fans. I tell you, they start spending money.
We think Saints fans are capable of having some catastrophic meltdowns at times, people. Watch this space if Tottenham start spending an absolute mint. Because
Andrew, haven't said that. I still want them to spend big on Pierre Højbjerg.
Absolutely. Well, quite clearly, they've got the money now. So if you're listening, Tottenham, £175 million you just asked for. £5 million for Pierre. Thank you very much. We're joking about the figure because he's probably not even worth that, to be fair.
Anyway, what's next?
Of course, it's worth that. Right, Ralph Hasenhüttl has actually fired a captaincy warning at Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And he's basically said, if you go into the final year of your contract, you can expect to lose the captaincy. And I think it's a really strong stance from Ralph. No messing about. And I get the sentiment he's using as well, saying it's very hard to be captain of the team if you're in the final year of your contract. And for me, absolutely, give the captaincy to Ward-Prowse, I think. Make Ryan Bertrand club captain possibly for the amount of time he's been at the club. I think that'd be a good move. See what happens. But that's my own personal view on it. I'd give it to JWP. No issue with Højbjerg having the captaincy for the last 9 games. But as Ralph said, if he's going into the final year of his contract, he's not committed. It makes it very difficult to be captain. And I can't argue with that.
Right.
Can't argue with that. Over to Mark.
But while I agree with everything that Ralph said in relation to the captaincy, Mark,
yep.
I'm going to pull cold water on it, right? Because it's okay coming out and making all the noises in the media, yep. Right? But it's like I've said to you since last summer, okay? And I've been consistent on it. It is my belief that there's been an agreement in place.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I don't know whether Ralph's privy to it or not. And I'm imagining that he kind of is, to be fair. Yeah. Right. But I believe that there was an agreement in place between the club, certainly the hierarchy, and Pierre Højbjerg, right? Because we all know how Saints do business, right?
Absolutely.
You know, forget about the people that are surplus to requirements, right? If you're a person who's coming into the last year of his contract in the summer, right? You know, 7 times out of 10, you get sold. You get sold.
Absolutely.
It's that simple. You get sold.
Absolutely. And as I said to you, Mark, you were at the fans forum and you asked him the question about his contract and he wouldn't be drawn on it. His head kind of went down. His whole body language was saying, I don't want to answer that. And I'm convinced that at that moment in time, he'd already made the decision he was leaving Saints, even then. And I stand by that.
But that's what I'm saying. Ever since that answer,
lack of answer.
You could tell he'd already made the decision that he wanted to move on to a bigger club. But anyway, we've done this to death. We've done this to death. But while I agree with this sentiment, I think the sentiment of what Ralph has said, and I do agree, because you need people that are committed to the following season, right? So, like you said, captaincy till the end of the season, and then you hand it to somebody else. But I also say to you that, for me, an agreement was already in place. So while Ralph's making noises, you know, I'm slightly reticent about the whole situation, if I'm honest, mate.
I mean, it's for me, it's a case of deal with the situation. And I think what he's probably trying to do, and I might be reading this wrong, for me personally, the way I read it is Ralph's trying to ensure that they don't get a situation like they've had with previous captains where there's caused a bit of unrest in the dressing room because the captain wasn't happy.
Look,
the situation
I honestly believe that Ralph's now probably, because he's committed, right, he's probably trying to get Højbjerg to commit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Højbjerg's mindset has been, well, I know I've been leaving since last summer. I'm still leaving. You know. Do you think
there's a danger, Mark? Do you think there's a little bit of danger that Pierre's ego's getting in the way a little bit in the fact that? Do you think he feels he's slightly better than what we all perceive him to be? The perception from him is he's better than he is.
You're going to have delusions of grandeur if you came through the Bayern Munich youth system. And you end up on the south coast, and you're sort of sat there thinking to yourself, you know, there's bound to be elements of them, right? And I say this kind of mockingly, right? Because the bottom line is we're Saints fans, so I just think some people have the vision that delusions of grandeur, and unfortunately, much as I think that, Højbjerg has sort of shone for me in the last, 2.5 seasons, had a little bit of dip in form this season, started to get it back together again. Then there's been all this that's gone on in the background as well, which I don't think's helped really for him personally. But yeah, I think he thinks. I mean, if you listen to the reports, and this is the other thing, I think Ralph knows he's going, right? And even though he's making all these noises about next season, and he's probably saying to him, look, I've committed, Shane's committed, why aren't you committing? But the simple fact of the matter is, and you have to be honest about it, when you see the newspaper reports and quotes from Emil Højbjerg, he's not staying. And we all know Pierre isn't staying.
Yeah, I think anybody that thinks he's staying has got a bit of a shock coming, because I don't think he is staying. If he does stay, I'll be surprised. I'll be very surprised.
Oh, and the other thing to bear in mind is, if he goes, it gives Saints wriggle room when it comes to the transfer market.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Right, moving on from there. Mauricio Pochettino's done an interesting interview where he said he helped change English football's mindset at Southampton. He's referring to the 2013-14 Saints squad, who he feels kind of enforced some sort of sea change within the Premier League. And I think he's probably got a little bit of a point there, Mark. They sort of played a little brand of football that nobody had really seen up until that point, didn't they? They certainly made an impact. Would you agree with what he says?
I 100% I would agree with what he said. Again, I have difference of opinion with other Saints fans when they herald them. I probably don't herald them as much because my feeling is 18 months at a football club as a manager isn't really long enough to sort of say that he was any kind of messiah. But I do recognise that there was a sea change. You know, there was an upward trajectory anyway.
Absolutely.
You know, before Nigel left and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a shame that Nigel didn't get to see out the season. You know, that's from my own personal point of view because he deserved to. But having said that, you know, when Pochettino came in, he definitely cranked it up a couple of gears, right? Yeah. You know, again, I think fitness was definitely an issue or not an issue, but he cranked up the fitness level. I remember an interview with Ricky Lambert where he said that the fitness regime was cranked up when Pochettino first came in.
Yep.
And then obviously he was kind of fortunate because you had the situation where you had obviously James Ward-Prowse was trying to establish himself. You'd Luke Shaw coming through. Yep. You know, he'd made a few appearances the previous season for the first team. And then, of course, there was the emergence. So there was the emergence of him on the left-hand side. And then you had the emergence, obviously, of Callum Chambers, who actually started out as a central midfielder, but was converted, you know, within the academy to a right back. Because obviously he wanted to play games. So, you know, the thing is yes, I do think that he did have a profound effect, you know, for the 18 months that he was here. He definitely did. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Can't disagree with you there. So, yeah, I'd certainly agree with all that. And, yeah, there was definitely a change, I thought. And he kind of just enhanced what Adkins had done, didn't he? He brought in a few extra things that Nigel hadn't done. And took us to sort of the next level. And then obviously that happened again with Koeman. So there was definitely an upward projection very quickly with 3 different managers, wasn't there, which was good. And then obviously it all went a bit pear-shaped after that. But anyway, moving on. News that Saints have expanded their partnership with Hartford Athletic out in the USA, which is obviously the team that Radhi Jaidi went to coach. So interesting that's come about, given the fact that we've had rumours the club were up for sale, etc. And you know, the fact that they're extending the partnership is probably something that wouldn't probably likely be happening if there was an immediate fire sale or sale of the club going on, isn't it? So it's interesting that's happening.
Mark, this baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. Yep. Right? So you've got people turning around and, you know, the merchants of doom are out in the press and they're saying, oh, you know, Saints ain't going to last 5 minutes financially. Yep. You know, it's all a meltdown situation, right? And okay, so why, if money's tight, right? And this is just me speaking as a Saints fan. If money's that tight, why would we still be bothering with Hartford Athletic, right? Absolutely. Also bear in mind that you would have thought there would have been a little bit of a sea change. Admittedly, we're still with Under Armour, and you could argue that may have a little bit to do with it, and they could maybe be financing some of it. But at the same time, you sit there and you go, well, you know, Ralph Cougar's left the building. You know, has the American project actually taken off, really? To me, not really. You know, so why are we continuing to put money in? Because
to be fair, this would be one of the first projects. If you're selling the club, that would be one of the first projects you pull the plug on.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of the first projects I'd be pulling the plug on. I'd be sitting there going, we need it for wages, you know. But then you don't know whether Hartford's putting money in, you know, because nobody's actually telling you where the money's coming from. You know, it might be that the club's not actually financing it.
It says partnership will now also see Southampton's successful global programme integrated into Hartford's youth soccer platform. This will involve a focus on coach and player development, partnering on camps and clinics both in the US and UK, as well as the club's expanded online programs for grassroots coaches. They aim to provide opportunities for youth players and coaches through their commitment to grassroots soccer, as well as providing professional pathway to support its mission of a first-class professional soccer experience and to build a community through the world's most popular sport. I think also it's another avenue for Saints to try and get potential players in.
I'm sceptical about all that. I've always been. The thing is, you know, people talk up all these links, right? But really, what links do you ever see being that successful?
I read something else into this as well, Mark, in the fact that we've complained about the lack of investment from the owner into the club itself. Now, this partnership with Hartford Athletic opens up another avenue for potentially developing players and bringing them in, which would actually mean the club not having to invest a huge amount of money. So it's another way of them not spending money on the playing squad, isn't it?
But Mark, listen, okay. I would buy into it, right? If Saints had a camp in the 5 continents around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? No, listen, I buy into what you're saying, but we're talking about one little section in America.
Yep.
You know, we're talking about one little section in America, right? If Saints all of a sudden decided to upscale, right, and they decided to do what Ajax do, right? Because Ajax, see, that is what you call a proper academy.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
Right? Because they depend on their academy, right, to develop players and then sell them on, which is what Saints, you know, fundamentally that's what they talk about.
Absolutely.
So why don't they upscale if they're putting that much store in stuff? Yep. Why don't they upscale so that they have a presence?
I mean, in fairness,
the 5 continents throughout the world.
Well, I mean, in fairness, this could be because obviously Ralph's extended his deal now and they've extended this partnership with Hartford Athletic. It could well be that that's exactly what the club are looking at long term, Mark. We don't know what the long term plans are, do we? And if it is that, if they are considering upscaling, fantastic. But as you say, if they're not, then it's just a flash in the pan. And you know, why would you continue to do it? Because it doesn't benefit, does it?
How many players would you expect? Right, Southampton, the unearthed, on the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Having watched some of it,
let's be honest.
Well, having watched some of the MLS, I've got to be honest, I'll be surprised if it's more than 2.
Right, and I'd love to know, right, if Under Armour sponsor their kit, because if they sponsor their kit, then you can be sure that the money's coming from Under Armour and not from us.
Well, it's something else I didn't think of either, actually, was if they're not sponsored by Under Armour, are they possibly sponsored by LD Sports?
That's even more cynical, that is.
Well, there you go. We do cynical on the Two Saints show every now and then. And we do controversial sometimes too. Anyway, moving on swiftly from right, moving on to a slightly more positive story.
Yeah.
James Beattie's Cup final boots auctioned for charity. So these were the boots he wore in the 2003 FA Cup final. I believe Mark was there. I certainly was. Thoroughly enjoyed. Well, I know Mark was there. Me and Mark were in the same photo together and didn't even know we knew each other then. There we go. So James Beattie's boots from the 2003 FA Cup final were auctioned for charity, raised £1,650. So absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd throw this one in because I have to say, since James has moved the family back down to the Southampton area, he has been very visible in his support of everything during the crisis. And this was yet another thing that he's done. And, you know, I'm hearing that he's given a proportion of the money to, you know, NHS and also other good causes. So good on him. I mean, he's one of the favourites of this show.
Absolutely.
And we're, you know, you and I are both hoping to have him on at some point. Which
so yeah, James, if you are listening, the Two Saints show will be in contact. We'd really love to get you on the show. So we're hoping you're listening and you'll actually get involved with us. It'd be great if you could. On a personal note, mate. I mean, I love them as a player, but you know, I just think the way that he carries himself and the way that he is as a human being, absolutely
is spot on. And I'm just glad that, you know, the family are back down living here.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, and for anybody who's obviously not aware, he's also behind Sophie's Appeal, which is an Eastleigh charity he's been long associated with. Sophie was obviously a little girl he met in his playing career at St Mary's. I remember vividly him coming out on the pitch with her. Absolutely heartwarming to see that, but absolutely heartbreaking what happened to her. And obviously it had a profound effect on James personally. His wife Sarah's spoken about the profound effect it had on both of them. She sadly died of Wilms disease at the age of just 5. Obviously, he's now first team coach at Birmingham, but he was so touched by her illness that he invited her to be a Saints matchday mascot, and he stayed in touch with the family ever since her death in 2014 in December. In 2004, not 2014. So, and him and his wife Sarah are patrons of the charity, which has funded research and improvements to children's cancer wards and a holiday cabin in Poole. So, absolutely fantastic. And what an ambassador for the club as well, even though he's not officially an ambassador for Saints at the moment.
He should be.
And Saints FC, if you're listening, please appoint him as an ambassador, because he should be. He's doing a phenomenal job for you guys, promoting Southampton Football Club, and you don't even know it.
Good man, Mark.
Championing the cause, as always, on the Two Saints show. Some news for all Saints fans relating to the fixtures that have been released by Southampton Football Club for the upcoming restart of the Premier League, Mark. And we start with the 19th of June. We have Norwich City, and they're actually going to be, so it's going to be the 19th of June, Norwich City away, 6 p.m. BST live on Sky Sports. The 25th of June, Arsenal at home, 6 p.m. BST live on Sky Sports. And June the 28th, Watford away, 4:30 p.m. BST live on Sky Sports. So those are the first 3 fixtures that have been released regards to the restart. And I may be wrong in saying this, but I believe Saints are actually the first club to release any kind of fixtures. So there you go, Mark. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, it's good news. I mean, it's good news if you've got Sky Sports.
Yeah.
There are other ways of listening to it or watching it, I'm assuming. And
yeah, we're led to believe that Radio Solent will be doing commentary, everyone. So obviously you can stay tuned on Radio Solent. I certainly will be. I know Mark will be.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Definitely.
Right, I think on that note, Mark, it's probably a good time to take our first break of the afternoon. So we'll do that now. When we come back, we'll be talking about Project Restart.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday, 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Project Restart. Premier League clubs to meet to discuss premature finish to the season and their options. Amazon Prime will make Premier League games free to air. Daily Mail, Premier League fixture TV schedule, channel and games free. Championship season set to restart on 20th of June as coronavirus lockdown eases. Championship return. QPR appalled by EFL plans for the 20th of June restart. EFL League 1 and 2 playoffs to be played before the Championship playoffs, and that takes us up to the end of that section before we move on to our last section of the show today. So Mark, back to the first topic of that section. Premier League clubs to meet to discuss premature finish options. They'll have their most thorough discussion to date about what should happen if the season's curtailed at the latest meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, apparently
a detailed debate.
Apparently it was yesterday, mate.
Yeah.
Apparently it was yesterday. I meant to point that out to you, but
okay.
Yeah. All I would say is I think, you know, the thing is I don't really understand why these discussions didn't take place while they were having their Project Restart discussion.
Yep, absolutely.
I would have thought it's just as important to have your backup plan in place if, you know, the season fails to finish.
Yeah.
But obviously they're going to use the same, I'm assuming that they're going to use the universal same point system as everybody else.
I would have thought that.
And you know, but having said all that, yes, they're pushing ahead with that. And, you know, as I said to you before we started recording, the Premier League has said that the relegation of clubs remains in place. It's not even up for debate, apparently. Although they are looking feedback from clubs, but I'd imagine that there might be a few clubs that are sitting there going, we still don't want the relegation.
Yep, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unfortunately for those clubs, they've basically been told that relegation will still be an option, won't it?
Yeah.
So,
well, it's not an option. It's happening, mate. You know, you can't. we've discussed this on the show before. You just can't have a situation where you're playing in a competitive league and we're not having relegation. That's a nonsense.
Unfortunately for those clubs trying to wriggle out of it at the bottom and get the season ended so they can not get relegated, you're still going to go down if they deem that your season's going to end. So you're still going to get relegated either way.
Yeah.
So my advice to those teams would be make sure you perform on the pitch and then you won't get relegated.
Very much so. Very much so,
Absolutely. So, moving on, Amazon Prime will make Premier League games free to air. So that's good news.
Yay!
So it's only 4 Premier League games, unfortunately, Mark. So let's not get too carried away. But the 4 Premier League games that are going to be on Amazon will be.
None of them are Saints. I guarantee you, none of them are Saints.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first 3 Saints games all on Sky. Brilliant. Well done. Yeah. So every one of the remaining 92 Premier League games will be broadcast live across Sky Sports, BT Sport, BBC Sport, or Amazon Prime. So that's 33 matches that will be free to air. So it's only 33 matches that will be free to air.
33 matches, and none of them are Sky Sports, mate. Trust me.
Yep. So there we go. That's an interesting one. Apparently, Sky will make 25 of the remaining top flight matches free to air, including the Merseyside derby. Oh, what a surprise!
Oh, great! Yeah,
shocker!
Yeah, tremendous.
Yeah, and any potential game Liverpool can win the title one. They won't be free either, will they?
Oh well, that'll please the Liverpool-based supporters club down here then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm sure Saints fans are over the moon about the fact that it'll be free to air on Sky and they won't be able to watch it. But anyway, there we go. It's quite an interesting situation, isn't it, with all these broadcasters, etc. Anyway, I think we'll move on from that one because we can't really cover that in much more detail than what we've already told you, really. So, revised Premier League fixture and TV schedule. Basically, when does the Premier League restart? Well, the English top flight will return to action on June 17th with Aston Villa versus Sheffield United, followed by Man City versus Arsenal. These 4 teams will play 1 fewer match than the rest of the Premier League. First full match day will then follow from Friday, June 19th to Monday, June 22nd. What channel will the Premier League be on? All 92 remaining matches will be broadcast live across current rights holders, Sky Sports, BT Sport and Amazon, while the BBC, I believe for the first time ever, will broadcast 4 live matches for the first time since the Premier League's formation in 1992.
Correct.
Sky will broadcast the majority of the games with 64, while BT Sport will show 20 matches, with Amazon Prime and the BBC each to show 4 games. And none of them, as far as I'm aware, feature Saints, which is a bit sad.
Yeah,
but I'm sure we'll find out later on if that's the case. So far, we've provisional fixture list and TV schedule for the first 3 rounds, so check it out further down. We'll be telling you that in a moment. How many games will be free to air? In fact, so as it stands, 33 of the 92 remaining games will be free to air on Sky Sports, Amazon Prime and BBC. Amazon Prime and BBC will show all 8 of their allocated games for free. Sky Sports are to provide a further 25 games for free without subscription. Oh, that does include Everton versus Liverpool, but unfortunately not Saints. There we go. It's still unknown whether BT Sport will show any of their remaining 20 games for free. Knowing BT Sport, probably not. Let's hope they do. It'd be good if they do. So anyway, we do actually have a list of the schedule for you, and the schedule is as so. Wednesday, June the 17th, Aston Villa versus Sheffield United, 6 p.m. on Sky Sports. Man City versus Arsenal, 8 p.m. on Sky Sports. We then move on to Norwich versus Southampton, 6 p.m. Sky Sports. Tottenham versus Man United, 8 p.m. on Sky Sports. Then on Saturday, June the 30th, Watford versus Leicester, 12:30 p.m. on BT Sport. Brighton versus Arsenal, 3 p.m. on BT Sport. West Ham versus Wolves, 5:30 p.m. on Sky Sports. Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace, 7:45 p.m. on BBC. June the 21st, which is a Sunday, Newcastle versus Sheffield United, 2 p.m. on Sky Sports. Aston Villa versus Chelsea, 4:30 p.m. on Sky Sports. Everton versus Liverpool, 7 p.m. on Sky Sports. On the 22nd of June, Man City versus Burnley, 8 p.m. on Sky Sports. The 23rd of June, Saints v Arsenal, 6 p.m. on Sky Sports. Tottenham versus West Ham, 8:15 p.m. on Sky Sports. The 24th of June, Man United versus Sheffield United, 6 p.m. on Sky Sports. Newcastle versus Aston Villa, 6 p.m. on Sky Sports. Norwich v Everton, 6 p.m. on the BBC. Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, 8:15 p.m. Sky Sports. June the 25th, Burnley versus Watford, 6 p.m. Leicester versus Brighton, 6 p.m. both on Sky Sports. Chelsea versus Man City, 8:15 p.m. BT Sport. Wolves versus Bournemouth, 8:15pm, also on BT Sport. 28th of June, Aston Villa v Wolves, BT Sport, 12pm. Watford v Southampton, 4pm, Sky Sports. 29th of June, Crystal Palace v Burnley, 8pm, Amazon Prime. Tuesday, June the 30th, Brighton v Man U, 6pm, Sky Sports. Sheffield United versus Tottenham, 8:15pm, Sky Sports. Wednesday, July the 1st, Bournemouth versus Newcastle, 6pm. And Everton versus Leicester, 6pm, both on Sky Sports. Bit of a clash there. It'd be interesting to see what people decide to watch. West Ham v Chelsea, 8:15pm, Sky Sports. And Thursday, July the 2nd, Arsenal versus Norwich, 6pm, BT Sport. And Man City versus Liverpool, 8:15pm, Sky Sports. So a thorough breakdown there, everyone, of the schedule for those matches. Don't unfortunately have a specific guideline as to which ones are going to be free 100%, which is a little bit confusing still, isn't it, Mark? So clear as mud.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to hear. I mean, obviously, from the breakdown to that point on when is it, the 3rd of July, it was interesting to note that you said, that it would seem that none of the sort of ones that have committed to be free to air, Saints are on. So hopefully some of the Sky Sports fixtures, which obviously Saints seem to be involved with, are free to air for some of the supporters.
That's right. Absolutely. So moving on. Championship season set to restart on the 20th of June as coronavirus lockdown eases.
Yeah.
But will it? There's certainly been a few cases of coronavirus actually detected, haven't there, within the championship? I
mean, I've got to say, this one kind of threw me a little bit. Only in the sense that don't get me wrong, I do think that if the Premier League's going to start, then, the Championship's bound to start, and some guys. I found it strange that they've picked the same weekend, right, that the Premier League starts in earnest. I find that absolutely baffling. I thought that they might have waited a week, right, and maybe because it would seem that all the games are staggered. I'm assuming the Championship's going to do the same.
Yeah,
I mean, for them to try and get, because I think they should try and get some exposure. I mean, I would be tempted if I was them to have, 1, 2 or 3 games on the Friday night, because there's no Friday night games, with the Premier League, and obviously then it gives the Championship a greater platform, and I would probably be looking at Friday night football then. For the rest of the Championship season, to try and give it a bit more greater exposure, because we're in the situation we are and fans can't go to grounds and that, it would be a brilliant platform for the Championship to get greater exposure.
Oh, definitely.
Same for, whatever happens in League One, I would have the same train of thought, because obviously there is I would say there's a degree of hunger out there for football,
definitely,
irrespective of what level it's at, and surely it's got to be good. Any exposure's got to be good exposure for the lower league teams.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope that QPR have changed their stance, because they were absolutely appalled by the EFL plans for a 20th of June restart, weren't they? So
I've got to agree. I do agree a little bit, because I'm not sure whether they're just appalled given the current climate, or whether they're appalled because it's such a short space, because it's actually a shorter space of time that they're working from than the Premier League.
Yeah,
the Premier League will have probably had 2 weeks more than the Championship, because theoretically they're both starting at the same time. You take the Wednesday night games out of the equation, everybody's starting at the same time, and it baffles me that the Premier League started 2 weeks training before the Championship, and yet the Championship's starting on the same date.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm not sure whether it's a degree of that or whether it's a degree of, they're not happy because obviously the current climate.
Yep.
And I do have a great, it's the same thing with Troy Deeney. I understand where the club's coming from. I really do.
Yep.
But the thing is I suppose at the end of the day, if everybody's on board, there's a degree of where you have to kind of toe the line.
Absolutely.
And I don't, I want to say, Mark, that, it would be good if clubs could opt in and opt out in the same way that individuals are being given the opportunity. But unfortunately, you're in a business. It's a living. People are going back to work.
Absolutely.
So it's a tough one.
Absolutely, definitely. Well, moving on to the next topic. Leagues 1 and 2 playoffs to be before the Championship playoffs, which is interesting. So the League 1 and League 2 playoffs are likely to be held before the Championship playoffs in an effort to help clubs deal with difficult contractual situations. The Football League confirmed on Friday a meeting will be held on June the 8th when clubs will vote on whether to allow seasons to be curtailed if the majority in each league requests it. League 2 clubs have already decided it's the route they wish to go down, but so far no consensus has been reached in League 1. So they're at a bit of a crossroads, really, aren't they?
Yeah, apparently I'm reliably informed by a friend of ours, right, that the League 1 talks are due to happen on June the 8th. So we're now at the 5th, so we should have news for people that may be interested in what's happening in League 1, next week. Because obviously we've spoken before on the show about there's been this idea where they're basically talking about the league season being shut down.
Yeah.
Right, and then having extended playoff matches. So you'd have the top 2 going up and then the next 8. So that's basically your top 10 going into an extended playoff system where you'd have quarter-final, semi-final, and then obviously the playoff final at Wembley.
Yep.
And by the way, I've heard stories that Wembley's talking about having 10,000 people at the finals, which I have to say, Mark, I don't agree with, because I sit there and I think that's a recipe for disaster. Okay,
yep.
Because the thing is if you turn around and decide that you're going to have a limited amount of supporters in there, right? Unfortunately, you're going to have supporters of those clubs turn up, whether they've got tickets or whether they haven't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the situation that we want to try and avoid, groups of players outside stadiums.
Yep, can't argue with that. Right, that brings us to the end of that section there. So we'll have another break and we'll come back and do the last segment of today's show, which is Saints transfer news, Mark.
The Toussaint Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes. It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Toussaint Show.
Right, everybody, welcome back. So, Mark, Saints transfer news links. We'll go through these and we'll come back, obviously, to the top like we normally do. Club offered chance to sign Southampton defender. Manager happy to bring him in. Mohamed Elyounoussi transfer latest as Celtic Lone Star is a wanted man. It's time. Reported Saints target says he will leave his club this summer. Southampton and West Ham want player who shines in multiple positions. Leeds and Southampton could sign free agent from reigning league champions. Crystal Palace and Southampton presented with chance to sign midfielder. AC Milan agreed deal for Southampton target. And that's all of them. So we'll go right back up to the top and we'll start with club offered the chance to sign Southampton defender. And obviously this is Wesley Hoop, Mark. So Turkish newspaper Photomat claimed Galatasaray have been offered the chance to sign Southampton defender Wesley Hoop. Right. So does that mean they'll ask for a loan then?
Quite possibly, because we did see what's happened with Lamina.
Yeah.
Because obviously that would mean that 2 of them are at that club. the one thing that did interest me in the story, if you read through the article, Mark, is that there's absolutely, and again, you would wonder, is it a loan deal they're actually talking about rather than a permanent? Because at no stage during the article does it mention a transfer fee.
It doesn't, sadly. There is no mention of any sort of transfer fee whatsoever.
Right.
Just as it's stated that they've offered him to Galatasaray in recent meetings regarding the future of Mario Lemina, and that Gala officials have now forwarded this proposal to the manager. After analysing the profile, he's reportedly happy to bring him in, as he believes they will need a defender for next season, regardless of Christian Luyendama's situation.
All I would say is that there's two things that I'd comment on there.
Yep.
I'd sooner get the permanent deal done with them for Lemina.
Yeah,
right? Lemina wants out of the club.
Absolutely.
Okay. Wesley Hoyt has already said that he wants to leave the club permanently this summer.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think, given that Galatasaray are basically trying to negotiate down, and down.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll have the money to buy Wesley Hoyt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, like I said, Wesley. What good if Wesley Hoyt wants to leave in the summer? What good is him going on loan to, you know, to Galatasaray?
Absolutely right.
And if there can be a deal done over the summer, I mean, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, mate. But really, at the end of the day, Southampton need to drill Galatasaray down about Lemina.
Yeah.
Now, and if we're squabbling, like I said weeks ago, if we're squabbling over £1 million, just take the 8 million that's on offer, take that, you know, and then, you know, the Wesley Hoyt situation. I just tend to think to myself, you know, even if someone comes in with you know, the most Saints fans, it would probably be a derisory bit. But say if somebody came in with 7 or 6 million quid, you know, you would take that in the, you know, in the coming, because what's the point in keeping him on if he doesn't want to be there and we're not used, then what's the point in him being at the football club?
Oh, absolutely, because you want him out the door. I mean, there's a lot of Saints fans want to see the back of him, and you know, we've got to put an end to all these contract situations with players who don't want to be here. Get them out of the door. You know, you're going to have to take a hit on it financially. Stop trying to get all these loan deals over the line and whatever for you. Because I get it gets wages off the books, but it doesn't help us long term.
But the thing is it gets wages off the books, but the club's still paying the bulk of the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when he went to Club Bruges, was it Club Bruges this season? Club Bruges or something like that.
Antwerp, I think, isn't it?
Antwerp. Antwerp, you're right. So when he went to Antwerp, I mean, it's still reported that we were paying 75% of his wages.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And it's been the case with a lot of these players. Yep. You know, the thing is I just think the club have to lower the expectation level in terms of getting rid of these players that will probably won't ever play for the club again. I mean, I'm saying all this to you, Mark, but personally, you know, and I've expressed this before. Personally, I would get rid of Vestergaard before I get rid of Hoyt. But that's my personal, you know, opinion. You know,
I agree. People aren't going to like that, but I agree with you.
Yeah, you know, but there you go. I've said it anyway.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one. Mohamed Elyounoussi transfer latest as Celtic Lone Stars chased by La Liga upstarts Real Sociedad. So the 25-year-old spent last season on loan at Celtic and impressed despite being limited to only 20 appearances due to injury. There's a surprise. I have transfer target for Real Sociedad, according to a report.
Right. So where I am with this one's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay. If Real Sociedad are offering the money.
Yep.
Right. So when I say the money, we're talking about the £9 million that Saints allegedly put down for him, paid for him. Right. So if they're offering anywhere near that, say 7 upwards.
Yep.
Right. I would say do the deal. Right.
Yeah.
If Real Sociedad are balking at it, right, and they want to negotiate it down further, right, I would say, okay, all bets off, right, and I would say to Celtic, there's Fraser Forster, there's El Sanusi. As a package, I'm going to say between 8 and 9 million quid.
Yeah.
Okay, for the two players, right? We'll give you those two players if you give us Olivier Nietzsche.
Yep, you have both of them. We'll have Olivier Ntcham. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll do that.
So there's where I am with El Sanusi. That's it in a nutshell.
Yep, can't disagree with that. It's time. Reported Saints target says he'll leave his club this summer. So this is Devajo Zivuk has admitted he plans to leave Groningen sooner rather than later, with Saints keen to snap up the former Holland youth star this summer. This was an interview he's obviously done. The transfer market is not even opened, but it seems Ralph Hasenhüttl's side are wasting no time at all as they draw up their recruitment plans. Right at the top of the tick list will be a new right back, with Cedric Suarez and Tottenham loanee Kyle Walker-Peters set to depart at the end of the campaign. There'll be a lot of Saints fans going, thank God for that.
Yeah. All I would say is the belief is that they're actually going to get him in sooner rather than later.
Yep.
So they're actually talking about the deal being done.
Yep.
Sometime this month, so that he, unlike say Kevin Danzo, right? Yep. He has the chance to do a full summer close season training, which obviously Kevin Danzo wasn't given the opportunity because he was signed, the season had already started. He signed on transfer deadline day and all of this. Yep. So the idea is that basically it's believed that we're going to sign somebody before the end of June. I'm hedging my bets that it is this Dutchman. I'm actually praying every night that it's this Dutchman, Mark, right? For several reasons, okay? One reason I want to make totally clear to people, right? That this guy has had, he was moved out. He came through the Ajax Academy. He was moved out to Groningen. He's probably signed a 2-year contract at Groningen, right? Because you don't sign on that long in Dutch football unless you're a foreign footballer, but Dutch players don't sign that long for Dutch clubs anyway. So I would have thought he'd moved to Groningen. He signed a 2-year contract. It's given him a platform outside of the shadow of Ajax, to make a name for himself, if you like. So obviously he's in the last year of his contract. He's going to cost. First of all, Saints fans, he's going to cost way less than Walker-Peters. He's going to get, the Dutchman himself's going to get a vastly bumper improved contract through signing for Saints.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, if people are worried, right, because they're sitting there going, Kyle Walker-Peters is English, he's this, he's that, right? All I'll say to you, Mark, is this guy is physically imposing.
Yep.
Right? You've seen Kyle Walker-Peters, right? He's not as a right back, right? No offense to him. He might have will-o'-the-wisp. He might be lightning quick and all the rest of it.
Yep.
But when it comes to physical presence, there's nothing.
Yep. And this guy is,
this Dutch lad has physical presence.
Not only that, he's attack-minded, and he's also quite quick, to be fair. So, he is quick. He is attack-minded. He's speedy. So, for me, and he's got those physical attributes, as you say. So, for me, it's a win-win. Anyway.
So, don't forget, Per Matt's out for the whole of June. Right? And let's hope he's joining by the end of it. Absolutely. Otherwise, we're going to end up with somebody we've never heard of at the end of June, and we're both going to be scratching our heads.
Yep, so talking to people you've never heard of, Saints and West Ham want a player who shines in multiple positions. So Saints and West Ham are apparently interested in signing Japan international Takahiro Tomiyasu from Serie A outfit Bologna, according to Calcio Mercato. Only 9 Japanese footballers have ever played in the Premier League. One of those is still part of the Saints squad, albeit having spent the last few months out on loan. Maya Sheed has been a huge hit at St Mary's, and perhaps inspired by the success of the long-serving centre-back, the South Coast club are ready to take the plunge on another Asian sensation.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a little bit,
Yep.
people doing a 2 and 2 and coming up with 4, right? Because obviously they're using that link, So basically we're saying, forget about Yoshida, forget about Tadanari Lee. Here is the new Japanese Saints sensation.
Yep.
Right, who can play multiple. Now, the thing is I quite like the link because obviously I like the idea that he can play multiple positions.
Yep.
Okay. And from a utility point of view, that would not be a bad thing for Saints. I don't know what these multiple positions is that he plays. I don't know whether the article goes into that very much.
So he's 6'2". He can play at centre half, right back, and in a deep line midfield role. He's got 18 caps. Has been a big hit since moving to Bologna from Belgian football last summer. So he's got a fairly decent ground in Belgian football. But
sign him up. But the only thing that would worry me there, Mark, is right. Obviously he addresses some of the positions that we're desperate for this summer in the centre half and right back rows.
Yep.
The thing is he would have been a lot cheaper if we had signed them directly from Belgian football.
Yeah.
And if he's had a successful season at Bologna, you can be guaranteed that the Italian club isn't going to be looking for peanuts for him.
What worries me a little bit is, right, you look at Wesley Hoot when we signed him. I think Wesley was 21 years old, wasn't he, at the time, playing in Holland. Yeah, he'd had a few caps for Holland.
Yeah.
Just right into the Holland team, quite young, 21 years old, 6 foot whatever, defender, could play a centre half, blah, blah, blah. You read this guy and you're thinking, hang on a minute, 21 years old, played in Belgium, gone to Italy. It kind of almost follows a mirror of what Wesley Hoot's done in a way. Playing international football, playing in Belgium / Holland, moved on to Italy. Wesley Hoot maybe.
Hang on. I don't think the thing. I know what you're getting at, but I don't think you can read. The thing is you can get it spectacularly wrong, even if you're sat there. I mean, Vestergaard, 25 when we signed them, 25,
yep.
Right? And he'd spent, the majority of his time, obviously, in the Danish and German leagues, okay?
Yeah.
And you looked at the stats in the German league, clearances, headers, stuff like that. And you were sat there going, oh, yeah, that's definitely somebody we need. Somebody commanding, right? He turns up and you're thinking, this guy looks like the business, right? And then when you see him playing, you're thinking, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I think we'll move on to the next one. So Leeds and Southampton could sign free agent from reigning league champions. Leeds United and Southampton have expressed an interest in Thiago Balde, with the Paris Saint-Germain prospect due to become a free agent at the end of this month, according to L'Equipe. PSG have seen a staggering amount of young talent slip through the net over the last few years, from Matteo Guendouzi to Ousmane Dembele, Odsonne Edouard to Kingsley Coman, and it seems that the summer of 2020 will be no different. Abdul Aouishe, I can't remember how you pronounce that, dazzling goalscorer midfielder, has broken a 36-year record by Marc Platini's young career, is on the verge of joining St Etienne. Kouassi, a teenage centre-half, has made 11 appearances, 1 foot out the door, and now attention is turned to Balde. The teenage right-back is yet to force his way into PSG's first team plans, but Aouishe and Kouassi below could leave the Parc des Princes for absolutely free on July the 1st.
Right. I'm gonna say one thing to you here.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a little bit like the Japanese gentleman that we just spoke about, because nobody's mentioned the transfer fee.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm going to say to you, it's not happening.
Yeah.
For me, it's not happening.
No.
This idea of signing youngsters from absolutely nowhere with no real first team pedigree, I just think no. Those sort of things to me are a risk too far, Mark. You know, the thing is it's all right sitting there and saying, oh, he's come from Paris Saint-Germain, he's come from Barcelona, he's even come from Ajax, or he's or our mate, the Danishman, you know, who came from Bayern Munich. You know, the thing is even with Pierre, right? We saw. I mean, it was £12.8 million we paid for Pierre, right? And I'm sure all Saints fans would agree with this, right? It took at least a season for him to settle. Now, I know he had things going on off the pitch, right? Because his partner, you know, they had a baby girl, right? And the partner went back to Denmark to have it. So obviously it was difficult for Pierre then. But what I'm saying is there is a period of adjustment. We even see it with Shea Adams. You know, people that work with Shea Adams turn around and say, oh, you know, give him time. He'll make the grade in the Premier League, right? Absolutely. But, you know, at the moment, you sit there and you think we're not seeing any evidence of it at the moment. So the thing is even if you're going to buy these young players, you've got to have a degree of patience where you turn around and say, okay, we may not see it in the first season. We've got to give them to the second season. But I just think, you know, there's a risk involved in buying any player. But I just think the risk in terms of, you know, 18, 19-year-olds, the risk is even greater unless they've had a pathway and they've played consistently in the first team.
Well, the thing is, well, you look at teams like Barcelona, PSG, Bayern Munich, etc., and you sit there and you go, right, if these players had come from League One, we would have paid the same fee.
Yeah. No, I know.
Anyway, Crystal Palace and Southampton have been presented with a chance to sign a midfielder. Club's president ready to negotiate a deal. So Crystal Palace and Southampton have been handed a boost in their pursuit of Torino's Suilio Mete, with chairman Urbano Caro ready to negotiate a deal. The 26-year-old midfielder, well, that rules him out immediately for Saints because he's not under 24. 26-year-old midfielder joined the Italian side in a £10.35 million deal from Monaco in 2018 after a strong start has endured a tough second year at the club. Yeah, I'll end it there because that's quite enough for me. You're not coming to Saints. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree straight away. The other thing I would say is that the article's not telling you is that he hasn't had a particularly good season with Torino in Italy, right? And it's a case of an Italian club putting the name out there, putting the clubs out there, and basically saying, you know, we're looking to get rid. Or it could be the agent doing it, you know, because he hasn't had a particularly good season in Italy. Absolutely. But I would say that one's maybe a no. Obviously it's a position that we need filling.
Well, the other thing is about, like we've said before, Ralph has a philosophy on the age of players he wants to bring in. As soon as you hear over 25, you're like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Anybody, you know, people can say, oh, well, you're being really cynical. Well, we're not. We just happen to have paid attention to what our manager said.
Yeah.
It's
I'm 100% behind you, but like I said, we're here to bring the news every week, mate. Absolutely. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and talking of bringing the news, AC Milan have reached an agreement over the signing of Sassuolo striker Gianluca Scamacca, according to Il Milanista. That's a mouthful. Try saying that when you've had a few shows.
The reason why I've raised the Scamacca deal is because a lot of our fellow Saints podcasts and podcasters and all the rest of it, now they were saying, well, these are the type, you know, because we're being linked with all these players, these are the type of players we're looking to bring in. I mean, as soon as I read about this bloke's pedigree, right, and as soon as, you know, all the journos and different other people that do similar stuff to yourself were linking him, and that they're saying, oh, yeah, these are the people we're definitely going for. But I looked at the pedigree of the bloke, and I turned around and thought to myself, there's no way this guy's coming to Saints. Absolutely no way. I thought to myself, he'll be moving for bigger money than we can afford for a kickoff, right? And him and his agent will probably be demanding more wages. Hence, am I surprised that he's moved the AC Milan? No.
Not at all. Well, they reckon he's going to be he's been called he was called the new Ibra in the past, so as in Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
So if he's anything close to that, there's no way he's coming to Saints. We just don't find that calibre of player, do we?
No.
Yeah, the one Italian we did sign was half decent. Daniel Osvaldo didn't last very long, did he? He wasn't Italian.
Well, he had a temperamental issue, mind you. Anybody that's got a life-size statue of Mick Jagger in his living room has got issues anyway, mate.
Well, in fairness, actually, I got that a little bit wrong. Daniel Osvaldo obviously wasn't Italian. He's actually different. He was Argentinian, I believe.
But he
certainly
I think I'm right in saying that he actually carried an Italian passport, even though he was Argentinian.
So yeah, I don't think he's a sort of. I mean, it'd be nice to see him. He's 6'5" as well, so he's a bit sort of Peter Crouch-esque in height-wise. But yeah, it's sadly not come to us. And there we go, unfortunately. Well, that's all the news we've got for you today, everyone. So it's been a really packed Two Saints show today.
It has, mate. It's been a good one. I've really enjoyed it.
I just want to thank everyone for joining us yet again. Just give you all a reminder that obviously we've got our Facebook page, The Two Saints Show, on Facebook. We do regular podcasts on there now once a week. So if you'd be interested in getting a copy of that podcast sent directly to you, please message us on our Facebook page, The Two Saints Show. We've also got a YouTube channel now, our new YouTube channel, The Two Saints Podcast Show. Check us out on there. Feel free to subscribe. Please leave any comments you'd like to leave on the content we're putting out. Let us know if you appreciate what we're doing or anything you'd like added in. Please let us know. We appreciate your feedback. It's goodbye from me this afternoon on The Two Saints Show.
Yeah. Thanks very much, listeners. Thanks for listening. I say it every week. Look after each other. Be kind to one another. And, more importantly, stay safe. Respect your distances. And, and hopefully, if you like what you've listened to, keep listening to us.
Absolutely.
It's very much appreciated by me and Mark. And, goodbye, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Just one more thing for me to add. Join myself and Mark H next week when the Two Saints go marching in again. Bye for now.